The two boys with baseball bats held them up waist high and moved forward. He cried out as he fell, and the flashlight flew out of his hands.
It's been 30 years since Bob Stine, otherwise known as R.L. Stine, released the first Goosebumps book, the beginning of his kid horror series and a reading revolution. Goosebumps has sold more than 400 million books around the world, inspired a TV series.
What is your name?
And 2 movies.
You've just released every monster I've ever created.
And even a pair of sneakers designed by NBA superstar Kawhi Leonard. The books are always about a kid fighting a monster, from zombies to mummies. And the hero, a lot like Stine as a kid.
What scared you as a little boy?
I was always afraid of a lot of things, which later came in handy, of course, because I could remember that feeling of panic, that feeling of what it feels like to be a frightened kid. Yeah. And I could bring that to my books.
Take me back to when you were 9 years old. I heard you found a typewriter in your attic.
I dragged it into my room, and I would spend hours in my room typing joke magazines, typing science fiction stories, and typing and typing.
Do you feel like you were just destined to tell all these stories?
I guess I was.
Is this where you feel the most creative?
Yes. Well, I have no choice. I have to be creative.
Stine always knew he wanted to write. In college, he was the editor of a humor magazine. He says writing scary books for kids wasn't his original plan.
Here's a secret. I never wanted to do Goosebumps. And my editors, my wife and her partner, said, no one's ever done a series for 7 to 11-year-olds, scary books. We have to try it. And I didn't want to do it. That's the kind of businessman I am. And finally I said, okay.
So Stine did his homework, following his 10-year-old son Matt and his friends to help get inside the minds of kids.
I spied on him and his friends a lot. And Matt was like a little guy, and he was down on the floor trying on a green rubber Frankenstein mask. And he pulled the mask over his head, and he couldn't get it off. And I'm watching him, and he's tugging and tugging. And I thought, what a great, I should have helped him, right? I should have helped him with the mask.
Instead, you got to your computer.
Said, oh, great. And I started taking notes.
How have your books changed over the last 30 years?
You know, Goosebumps hasn't changed at all in 30 years. The technology has changed. You know, kids aren't walking around with Walkmen. That's all changed. The thing about Goosebumps is, they could have been written when I was a kid, because our fears never change. We're still afraid of the dark, afraid something's lurking under the bed, afraid of getting lost, afraid of being somewhere we've never been before.
More than 300 Goosebumps books later, R.L. Stine has captured the hearts and minds of millions of young readers around the world.
I love them. It just makes me feel like I'm watching this in real life and this actually happened. I like how they're kind of scary. I like how in it keeps changing every page that you flip.
Including me. The Goosebumps series kept me company while I was at sleepaway camp.
You are such a formative part of my childhood and so many kids. What does it feel like to have that type of legacy?
Well, I never get tired of hearing about kids who read under the covers with the flashlight. I love that story.
Would that kid and you, that 9-year-old with the typewriter, what would he think of all this?
He'd be amazed, but no, he'd be thrilled. I just feel like I'm the luckiest person on earth.
Oh, and Bob Stine, as I like to call him, because we're now friends, the loveliest man. 30 years of Goosebumps, which I just can't believe. I know some of y'all missed the window. It's incredible that R.L. Stine has been coming up with new ideas for that long. You know, he was a comedian, as I said in the piece. He said that there's just 1 ounce between comedy and fear. Yeah. So, like, if you scare a baby, or if I wish I had the wherewithal to scare one of y'all right now. Yeah. Your first reaction is, and your second is laughter.
Going back to that, why would you want to scare a baby?
I'm not saying I want to scare a baby. I'm just saying hypothetically, when you go boo to a baby, they're first scared and then they're laughing.
You made a really good point, though, about boys especially and getting them to read, and how Goosebumps were perfect, because my son loves reading stuff.
I'm going to send you this series. So this series I taught to my 6th grade students, my 6th grade boys. I did a whole Scary Stories series in October, because it also teaches how to write.
Yes.
You know, to get to the plot.
Yeah.
And anyway, R.L. Stine is a genius. By the way, he has 2 new books coming out.
I call him Bob.
No, sorry, Savannah, since you didn't know him, you don't get to
You're calling him old.
Right. She just called me old because I was like, I never heard of Goosebumps.
I know.
She's like,
you
we're
were
different
reading
generations.
Flowers in the Attic.
Anyway, true.
I did love Flowers in the Attic.
Oh my gosh, that was terrifying.
Anyway, he has 2 new books coming out, one tomorrow and another in September. And I'm honored, as we talked about, that he's included in our first ever Read with Jenna Jr., which my husband has been making fun of the name forever. You can find it at today.com/read with Jenna. I hope y'all will read with us.
With friends like JBH, you don't really need enemies.
Right? I know.
You don't need enemies.
She's like, you old bat.
Yeah, I didn't call you old. I just knew that you loved Flowers in the Attic.
I did. That is one scare. That is a terrifying book. Did you ever read it?
I didn't read that.
There was some very strange
Real
things
dark
that happened in that attic.
Terrible. Don't put that on Jenna Jr.
No
way.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Find your favorite recipes, celebrity interviews, uplifting stories, shop our favorite deals, and so much more with the Today app. Download it now.